Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Upon Further Review. I'm Troy.
I'm Mike.
Today, we're going to talk about Donald Trump. And let's start off with the fact that the President of the United States, despite top-notch security and no limited contact with people, got COVID-19. And once he got COVID-19, according to reports, he freaked out as he started showing symptoms and spent a weekend literally in a hospital at the presidential suite at Walter Reed Hospital. That's insane, Mike. And this comes from a time where this man has flouted, it's haunted Joe Biden just days prior about wearing the biggest mask he's ever seen. You know, he's 200 feet away. In other words, being overly cautious. Now we come to find out that the White House and the Rose Garden nomination for the Supreme Court of Amy Coney Barrett was literally a super spreader event. And there's about 23 GOP officials that have been diagnosed with the coronavirus. And I wish them all well and wish no ill harm on any of them. But it goes to show just how reckless and dangerous this administration is. And for the average Joe out there who thinks the mask wearing is going too far, who thinks the social distancing is useless, let this be an example. They followed all the rules, at least they agree, and they determined on themselves when they should take the mask off. They decided themselves when they don't need it, it's no big deal. Even during the debate, everyone got tested for the virus. And yet they still came in there, and the doctors, they were literally at a hospital, by the way, there in Cleveland, medical facility. And they decided that, nope, we don't need to wear a mask now. We've all been checked out. Everything's A-okay. And the president was walking around with COVID-19. Imagine if they didn't have the barriers up, Mike. Imagine if they shook hands and things of that nature. What we could potentially have had happen. And I hope everyone makes a full recovery, and I hope everyone remains healthy. But the reality is, this is how dangerous that virus can be. This is how dangerous the virus is. And we are dealing with a situation in which the president has COVID. We believe there's who knows how many people actually has the virus. And it's even jeopardizing their pick of Amy Coney Barrett. We don't know when they're going to be able to get back together to even have the Senate confirmation hearings and or vote on this. And some people even speculate, because of how important it is to do this before the election, at some point you may have senators hide the fact that they have COVID-19 because they don't want to dismiss the Senate as they have these 14-day waits.
You know, it's very troubling, and troubling more so for the response of Donald Trump. So if you look at, of course, he's been mocking Joe Biden for wearing the biggest mask he's ever seen. Of course, he's been flaunting the fact that he's had thousands upon thousands of people packed in tightly at indoor and outdoor venues, saying that just because they got some fresh air, that they don't have to worry about the social distancing and the mask wearing. And he's been very dismissive of all the measures that medical professionals and people in his own administration, his scientists are telling him that needs to be done. He's constantly undermining that. He'll say in one hand, yeah, I guess you should wear a mask, but his actions and most of his other rhetoric totally go against that narrative. And if you're one of his so-called supporters, you're looking at that, and it's clear to them that you don't care about wearing your mask, you don't care about social distancing, and you think this virus is overrated. So when he goes and contracts the virus, issue number one, they won't tell when the last negative tests were. For some reason, his administration is hiding when his last test. And the reason why this is important, people, is because he knowingly have COVID-19 and still went and mingled and met with people face to face, no mask, while knowingly being. That's issue number one. And most people say, oh, of course he wouldn't do that. Well, what in his character would make you think that's not part of something that he's capable of? if you look, the White House has been vehemently sidestepping and denying questions from reporters trying to figure out why they won't tell the public when his last negative test was. So that's issue number one. Issue number two, he gets the virus, right? He ends up going to Walter Reed Hospital. And while there, he takes a victory lap around Walter Reed inside of an enclosed limousine, exposing Secret Service agents to the virus. In a car, no air circulation outside of the vehicle, and he's exposing them to the virus because he wants to go out and wave at some supporters. You know, he's kind of getting this stuff from Dictator's Handbook 101, right? He's trying to drum up his base. He's trying to say, I defeated the virus, blah, blah, blah. But doing so exposes a lot of people who didn't need to have that exposure, right? So shows you once again how reckless and how much he does not care about people. And then he goes and leaves the hospital, comes back to the White House, tries to triumphantly march up some steps and over a balcony, takes his mask off while he is still infected, and starts spewing off a speech about how he's great and how everybody can defeat the virus and just get back to work. You know, mind you, he is dismissing the fact that he has had the best medical care in the entire planet. Nobody has received better medical care than he received at Walter Reed Hospital. He got the top of the line in medical diagnoses, medical treatments, the facility themselves. Everything is A+, A1. And he received that type of treatment. And then he's going to sit up now and stick out his chest like he conquered the virus. He had the nerve to actually say in an interview that, he was given some experimental drugs, right? And he said that they helped him get over the virus quickly. Then in the same interview say, well, you know what? I don't need those drugs. I could have got over without it probably. And then came around and said it, but you know what? I'm going to fast track those drugs so other people can get it. And it's nothing but lie after lie after lie. You can't tell what's true. You don't know if he's still infected or not. Odds are he is. And he plans on having an event at the White House on the front lawn, and he expects to have hundreds of people there where he addresses them on the balcony while still infected. And he's holding this event. Everything you should not do, he does. And this is one of the things where it's pretty clear and evident that Donald Trump does not care about anybody but himself. Donald Trump doesn't care about anybody but his image. Donald Trump will lead people to believe that this is something that you can just conquer in a couple of days, and that just because he received experimental treatments, the best in the world, the best doctors in the world, the best treatment in the world, and one of the best facilities in the world, now he's saying because all that work that you should get out there and not be afraid and go back to work. It's pretty terrifying. And the scary part is that, his base is really eating it up and they really believe it. And now we're about to see this wave that they had warned us about earlier in the year.
The most haunting part about this whole thing is the dismissal and downplaying of this virus, where he as a president has overseen in excess of 200,000 deaths and climbing by the day. People are losing family, friends, loved ones, rich, poor, doesn't matter. The people are dying, healthy, of varying notes, age of all types. People are dying left and right. More people this is a catastrophe. 200,000 people is nothing to sneeze at. It's nothing to bat an eye at. That's wild. And for him to come out here and talk about conquering the virus and we can't let it control or rule our lives, when knowing that he is dealing with the literally cutting edge of healthcare. They gave him experimental treatments not yet approved by the FDA that was actually, ironically, since he's a GOP president, was created from stem cells created harvested from an abortion of some sort. I believe they were talking about basically the very same research that the GOP has worked to deny. And here's the president of the United States getting experimental, cutting edge research that is not available to the regular person. So, yeah, if you have that kind of pull and cachet, go ahead, don't wear your mask and be reckless. And for him to stand up there and say what he said and the method that he said it was completely tone deaf and flies in the face of the 200,000 dead, he doesn't even care. And then he continues to put everyone around him in harm's way. Where the president goes, there's got to be a Secret Service agent. You've had anonymous Secret Service agents that literally work on his detail come forward and say this is outrageous. The car ride was outrageous. By the way, that presidential limousine is hermetically sealed. So there's nothing from the outside, and it recirculates its own inside air. As a literally contagious president, and there's Secret Service agents who had to sit right next to him. I mean, they literally passed COVID to his own Secret Service detail. And then now they're going to have to either be pulled out, or they just want to have him, constantly passing that around amongst Secret Service agents in his detail. It shows a shocking lack of respect for what's going on, a shocking lack of understanding for the science around this, and a total disregard and recklessness. This man is unfit to be the president of the United States based on what we saw, just this alone, just dealing with this, forget the response to the virus, him getting it and his actions that followed. And they're intentionally trying to hide information because they are so worried about ramming through their Supreme Court justice that, ironically, that is the patient zero moment, the super spreader event, if you will, that caused this to run rampant. You have senators, you have operatives and White House aides and Secret Service agents all coming down with this virus. And essentially they're saying they don't care if people have this virus anymore. And he's saying, I don't, if I beat it, look at me. And I can just see and imagine how they're going to spin this. They're going to say, oh, look, Joe Biden's wearing the biggest mask he ever seen. And I was out there and I actually had it. And it's not that bad. And this, that, and the third, while we approach 225,000 deaths. Like the death toll's going to keep climbing while he's using this sort of rhetoric. I think normally the captain goes down with the ship. He's darn sure going to go down with this one. It's going to be, I think they're going to get absolutely washed in this election. And I would be honest with you, I was on the fence with it, but I think every week we see something new that just is really moving people. Now, he absolutely has a staunch supporters. He's absolutely, it's going to be closer than people think, even with all that. But I think they're getting the boot here. And if this, it's like, what more needs to happen? Herman Cain went to a Trump rally earlier this year where they didn't wear masks, where they did not adhere to social distancing. And Herman Cain's a millionaire, by the way. So he's getting, rich people health care, no expense spared. And he's about the president's age, if I'm not mistaken, or at least they're close enough. And this man died. This man absolutely went out there, and that is where he got the virus, right there at a Trump rally, and he's gone now, long gone and buried. And even after that event, they changed nothing. And already he's trying to have new events and continue operating as normal when nothing about this is normal. Nothing's normal about the president behaving this way, and nothing is normal about a pandemic racking our economy the way it has and causing the deaths of 200,000 American citizens.
Let me be clear. I'm going to say three things. President Trump does not care about you. President Trump does not care about you. And President Trump does not care about you. This is clear. This is evident. He is looking for a way to, one, try to steal this election. He's already doing forms of voter suppression, trying to discredit mail-in ballots, even though it's been a formal way of voting for years. All of a sudden now is rife with fraud. And the reason he's doing this is because evidence suggests that more people who would use a mail-in ballot are more likely to vote Democratic. So he's trying to stop the vote there. He's also inciting these quote unquote poll watchers who are not official poll watchers, but people to go to the poll sites, go there and intimidate folks in the hopes that they would not, that people will go there and not vote for Biden because of these intimidation tactics. He's also encouraging people to, regardless of the results of the election, toss it out. It's not valid. He's already called him fraud. He's already saying he's been on record refusing to say that he would relinquish the presidency if he lost. He's been on record countless times saying that if he loses, it's fraud. And that's the reason he lost. That's another reason why he's trying to stack the court. He's trying to do any and everything, like I said, out of that dictator's playbook in order to make sure he remains in power. And this COVID thing shows you that he thinks that he's prioritizing trying to hit the campaign trail. He's prioritizing trying to drum up his base, and he's willing to risk other people's lives to do it. He doesn't care. He's willing to get other people sick. Because like you said, Troy, everywhere he goes, the Secret Service has to go. If he would just stay quarantined in one spot, they don't have to put themselves at risk. But now he's willing to put any and everybody in harm's way in order to hold on to the power that he has now. And it's really sad. It's really disturbing. And I guess the biggest disturbing part is that you have, roughly half of America, that still rock with this guy, that are still, supporters of his. I mean, some of them are waning, but it's still roughly half the country when you look at it that are saying, yeah, I could vote for him. I could vote for this man. This man is made of the right stuff. This man is the one to lead us. And he's quick to say, I don't even know if you've seen it, and this is more of an indictment on all the Republicans as a whole. It seems like every single Republican campaign commercial, whether it's for Senate, whether it's a local or a federal seat, it's all doom and gloom. If you elect Senator so-and-so, they'll come and burn down your house and they'll kill your kids, right? It's just all this doom and gloom that every time you see a political ad from them, that the Democrats are going to somehow come in, get rid of all the police, and it's going to be essentially World War III, right? But none of them are accepting the fact that the country is more divided than it's ever been. We literally have people, groups of people clashing in the streets with armed groups who want to go back to the good old days, and groups of people who want to see a reduced role of policing in communities, and they're having collision. I mean, they're still protesting right now in Portland, and all this is under his watch. All of it is under his watch. So what would make you think an additional 4 years would yield you any better results, right? Things have gone from good under Obama to terrible now. I think anybody with a brain could agree that we were not as divided under the last presidency as we were now. You had your crazies out there who wanted to see his long-form birth certificate, which is ironic because he won't release his tax returns. But we still have not seen this kind of divisiveness in a long, long time, and he is bringing this out. So this kind of is just a real referendum on his entire presidency, and it's also a real referendum on the Republican Party as a whole. I think they're going to take some major losses. I think people really see your true colors. For your pretty much almost just, even if they didn't say anything, it's because they didn't say anything. They didn't try to ring Trump in. They didn't try to limit the damage. They let him run wild. And all the while, now they're trying to stack the courts. Now they're trying to use all this leverage they have in these waning months. So I think they know deep down inside they're going to, they're coming out with some big losses, and it's all well deserved because they have let this madman run them up.
Speaking of, we just had the FBI underneath the Trump administration literally arrest 8 men for a plot to kidnap a sitting governor of Michigan. Like, this just happened. This is what level of insanity and radicalism he has inspired. Liberate Michigan is what he tweeted, and here's a plot of domestic terrorists plotting to kidnap a sitting governor. And obviously, it had to be organized to a degree because, like I said, the FBI was able to catch them. And that stopped them in the act, but catch them prior in their planning phases. That's crazy. This is what we have. You know, he's definitely going to go down with this ship, and I think a lot of people are going to go down with him. The GOP has prided itself on things such as, you know, fiscal responsibility. There was none underneath this administration. They're spending money. They're lighting on a fire. They're increasing the deficit. Trillions of dollars have been added to the national debt. They pride themselves on things like the Second Amendment and you know, free access to firearms. Well, Trump has actually infringed on those sorts of things. He's gone out and banned things like bump stocks and things that if any blue president did, they would be up in arms about. If any Democrat president was talking about liberating states of opposing political party, was out here encouraging armed supporters in the streets, was doing half of the things that this president has done, they would be getting torn apart. And oh, the irony in the Constitution, and they would be standing, and all of them have proven to be hypocrites because many of them have chosen their party and their own political expediency over right versus wrong, and ultimately over the nation. There's a reason why no former president supports Donald Trump as president. It's never happened before, ever. There's a reason why the very people Donald Trump hand-selected to bring into his administration have turned around, exited the door, and said, this guy's got to go. There's a reason that former Republicans, members of the Bush administration, Republican governors such as John Kasich spoke at the Democratic National Convention, warning that we have got to get back to political normalcy. Nothing about this is normal, and nothing about this is going to be tolerated. And when the history books reflect back upon this time, they're going to see just how many members of the GOP stood idly by, quiet and complicit in the actions of this administration. This has been the most embarrassing administration, the most heinous administration in modern history. And we're going to have to be very careful heading into this election. People are going to have to keep their head up and their eyes open, I tell you, because we have armed militias. That's being kind, because these people have gone so far as to literally threaten government officials over mask mandates, by the way, not over like literally over wearing a mask in public. They're threatening to kidnap people over. So we want to talk about constitutionality. We want to talk about, you know, the Constitution and its limits on power and limited government and fiscal responsibility. All these things have been tossed by the wayside by Donald Trump. Any sense of political normalcy has been tossed to the side. Decorum tossed to the side. People despise him, oppose him, and don't even show up to my funeral from respected Republicans like John McCain. John McCain, at least we forget, was Barack Obama's opponent in his first election. This was the man that the GOP just 8 years prior chose to be the face of their party. And then 4 years later, Mitt Romney has stood openly and opposed Donald Trump. And 4 years later, within 8 and 4 years, we see this wild swing to Donald Trump and an almost cult-like following that won't even admit anything he is doing is wrong, that won't even acknowledge the insanity of this. Whataboutism, I said this in a post on social media, whataboutism is going to destroy a country. What about? And we overlook a never-ending escalation of behavior based on whataboutism. And now people are worried about quote unquote radical leftist ideas, you should have thought about that before you allowed radical right-wing ideas to take over and dominate your party, before you allowed Donald Trump to destroy all sense of normalcy, to destroy all forms. He could have been reined in easy. They could have sat him down like, yes, he's the president, but we have a separation of powers. You can't get anything done with the Senate, whether they're your party or not. He could have been held in check. He could have been held to account. Any generals that stand in his way ultimately have to step aside and resign and then speak out, like General Mattis. Like it's like, who do you need to see and hear from to understand that this administration is a dumpster fire and is taking our nation, our respect, pride, and dignity, our standing amongst the world, all down with him. The captain of this whole ship is Donald Trump, and he's damn sure going to go down with it.
I think when he uttered those words, stand back and stand by, it was, and Joe Biden uses the term a lot, dog whistle. And for people who don't understand when he's saying a dog whistle, is he's saying that he is ringing the bell for white supremacists, for these neo-Nazis, for these groups of people who want America to be essentially not great again. They want America to be white again, right? They want to reassume power. They want to push down others. And they want to go back to the way it was back in the day during Jim Crow, where any other, racial minority is marginalized, where we don't have a voice. President Trump is singing their song, and he's dancing around with not saying it outright, but he's definitely not denouncing. And he knows what he's doing, and they know what he's doing, right? As soon as he said stand back and stand by, the Proud Boys, which is also a radical right group, they went in and adopted the hashtag, stand back and stand by, and are using it as a rally cry. He knows what he's doing. He is pandering to these groups of people. And what's crazy about it is, it really goes to show how far we have not really come. That all these things that we thought that we have gotten past as a society have really just been boiling under the surface. And right now, Donald Trump is that blowhole to let it all out, right? He is what they've been waiting for, a reason to step out their closets, come out their basements, and show just how they really feel. And I think we should take note. I think we should take note that's a long way to go. We have a lot of work to do. But more importantly, I think it's a call to action to make sure that everybody gets out and vote. That's something that we have been pushing hard on this channel. It is your democratic right. People have fought, people have died for your right to vote. And you need to make sure that your vote is heard. And, we're not, necessarily, we're not necessarily telling you who to vote for, but you need to do it. I don't care who you vote for. You need to go out and vote. It's your right, and it's also your civic duty. This election is, I know they say that every election is the most important election of your lifetime, but this one really might be it. This one might be the election that determines the course of this country, whether we're going to slid off a precipice that we have no chance of coming back from, or we're going to save ourselves and get back to some kind of sense of normalcy, get back to some kind of sense of self-respect, and start being looked at again as a world leader, right? This is a very important election that people need to go out and vote for. This administration, Trump has kind of spoken for themselves. You see the works that they've done. You be the judge, and you judge with your vote. So just make sure you guys get out there, whether you're voting absentee, whether you're doing the mail-in, whether you're going in person. Just be aware, be safe. There's already been some guidance put out by like the ACLU and others that saying that if you do see people there trying to intimidate you, do not be scared. Write down some information, share it with your local authorities, but continue to go and vote. Do not be silenced. Let your voice be heard. Once again, this is a very, very important election, and this can have repercussions that will reverberate for decades. So I don't know about you, Troy, but my eyes are glued to November 3rd when the ballots are casted. And because of all the mail-in votes, I'm pretty sure that the results might not be decided.
They're not going to be. It's going to take days, if not up to a week or even longer, because of the mail-in issue. And I want to make one thing perfectly clear. A lot of people may be listening. I am far from a liberal. I'm not darn sure not a liberal. I've cast votes on both sides of the aisle. I frequently advocate for third parties. I believe that both parties have failed their constituents and the nation as a whole. And they have shortcomings that cannot be adequately addressed by ever increasing polarization. When there's only two options, people in the middle are forced to pick a side. And I get it. I know there are people out there who have been Republican all their life. Hell, I've moved here to Texas. We both have. And obviously Texas is a great Republican state. There are plenty of local officials that are Republicans that have been doing a good job. But at the national level, at the federal level, and the presidency itself, there's a reason that Republicans are moving over to the Democratic side. And if you think you're worried about the new wave of quote unquote radical left, don't worry. Joe Biden's been around for, 47 years in public life since he's taken the Senate. He's not going to be moving that needle that far. And some people knock him for it. Heck, I even have myself. But if anybody's worried about things sliding that far, not underneath him. And he'll be the president. And if he wins this election, obviously, he'll be the president. So you don't have to worry about things going that far. But my ultimate point is this: Donald Trump's dangerous, full stop, period. And that goes beyond party. That goes beyond politics. He is dangerous for the United States of America. You have armed militants that he is encouraging to rise up. This man has looked the other way when bounties were put out on the heads of soldiers by foreign governments. Our standing with our allies is hurt. Our polarization is worse than it's ever been before. People are literally threatening to kidnap governors. And I get it. I get it for all those people who feel as though the government's failed, but this is truly our one and only chance to step back. I'm somebody who's been very critical of Joe Biden. He has a lot to criticize for him and his running mate and the Democratic Party, and I darn sure have my criticisms with the Republican Party. My ultimate point is this: Donald Trump is dangerous, and that can no longer be overlooked. And you got to ask yourself, why is Kasich and Romney and many of these other people, why are so many, Colin Powell, the Bushes, why are so many people, John McCain, why are so many former lifelong Republicans standing against Donald Trump when they're supposed to be their same party? You got to ask yourself that. You got to look in the mirror. This isn't about fake news. This isn't about the echo chambers that people pump into themselves. This is about the future of the nation, right and wrong, and we've got to do it.
I'm pretty sure there's going to be more ridiculous antics and stunts as we get closer to Election Day. We'll try to be a little bit more regular up to that point. But we really appreciate you. We thank you for listening. Make sure you like and share and rate and review the podcast. It helps us out a lot. We're really trying to drum up our listenership. We also encourage you to check out our new YouTube channel, In the Black. And that YouTube channel is about financial literacy because that's something that's not taught in schools. That's something that's not passed down through generation, especially in minority communities. And we're all about sharing financial wealth, building wealth. And we really want you guys to go on that journey with us. So please check out our YouTube channel, In the Black. Please, like, rate, subscribe, follow, hit the notification bell on that thing as well. We really appreciate it. Once again, I'm Mike.
I'm Troy.
And this is Upon Further Review.